So, yes, well, welcome. This is the sixth of these talks we've had. We started one before Christmas on Pretoria Day, the anniversary, the 110th anniversary of the Pretoria disaster, and we've then had one every month through the year. So this is the fifth one, fifth of this year being May. We've tried various talks on different subjects, you know, about crime in Manchester and things like that. But tonight we've got a rather different slant because Bill Usher is a man who originated from Manchester, married a lady from Farmhouse, which brought him to Bolton, and somewhere along the way he took up an interest in painting. And I think Bill's style is mainly acrylic. We've got Tom on the call, whose style, of course, is watercolour. He's very well known for that. So I think, Bill, tonight you're going to tell us something about your life and times and your interest in painting.
That's correct.
Over to you.
So I'll make a start. As Phil said, I'm going to be talking today about my life in arts generally, and more particularly how Phil advertised the talk, which is painting the Westhoughton scene. So a little bit about me, born in 1953, which makes me one of the baby boomers, and looking around the screen, I think most of the group seems to be baby boomers. I've worked mainly throughout my career as a local government accountant, although in later years I was working as a consultant outside the employment of local authorities, mainly in project management. Now, I'm almost retired. I've got my works pension and my state pension, but I'm still running down a few assignments that have can't quite finish off. As soon as I can finish them, I can retire fully, but I've still got them on the go. So I've had an interest in drawing for as long as I can remember. As a small child, I was always drawing. And I grew up, it was always just a hobby though. I made myself a member of Bolton Art Circle, and now I find that I've got more time on my hands than I've ever had before. I've been able to develop my techniques and skills. So I want to share with you tonight how I got to where I am now. So I started off like many artists in watercolour in the early 80s and 90s. It's very easy to get into, and it's easy to do basic work where you're essentially just colouring in with paints, but watercolour is not so easy if you want to do high quality, high standard watercolours. That there's some very difficult techniques you need to master, and if you get it wrong, you can forget about it. It's unforgiving. You can't rectify your mistakes very easily. But if you do watercolour well, you can achieve some wonderful effects of light and shade. And I've still kept up the watercolour work. I do the occasional painting in watercolour, just to make sure I don't lose that side of the work that I'm doing. So here's an example of an early painting, probably done about 1982, in watercolour. It's the Bridgewater Canal at Worsley. And like many of my works, I did it from my own photo. And in watercolours, light areas are the bits that you leave unpainted. And that's what makes it so difficult. You have to do from the light through to the dark, getting darker as you go so that you've left light the bits that you want to remain light. And it's so easy to stray into those and then you've spoiled it. I'm pleased with this composition. I think that the way I've set up the canal leading into the picture, it draws your eye along the towpath to the main building. And you'll see that sort of feature appearing again and again in my work. Here's another early example, and this is from a library photograph, Manchester Central Library. And it's the area where I grew up in Hume in Manchester. And it's called Home from the Match. And if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see a little boy with his dad, which is me with my dad, where we would have walked home from Old Trafford in the early 1960s along that road to where I live, just behind that church in the background. Moving on a few years, this is probably mid-90s when I lived at Hulton, a painting of 4-lane ends. I was trying here to do a more impressionistic style. It's a rainy evening, lots of reflections on a wet road, but unusually for watercolours, I've used lots of very deep hues, dabbing the brush strokes rather than putting on washes to get the desired impression. Here's another one that I did mid-90s, and it's a local scene. Again, I'm starting to realise at this time that local scenes do have a lot of interest, and that's where I got later on in my life into painting Westhoughton scenes. And this painting itself proved to be important, as you'll see as I develop the talk. So I started probably about 93. I can put a date on it because I was given a birthday present of acrylic paints. And I wasn't really sure how to use them at first. And I made lots of failed attempts before I started to understand how to use them. The main difference with acrylics is that the colours are opaque, which means that you can paint light on top of dark. And the other main thing about them is that they dry very quickly, and the colours are very bold. If you apply them strongly, you can get very bold colours. So here's an early acrylic painting that I did, probably about 97, 98. It's the lake in Hulton Park. And if you notice, there is more depth of colour here. And if you look into the reflection itself, you can see where I've been able to highlight light greens and pinks and whites in a way that I would have really struggled with watercolours. And I've also put on the seagull, which is another feature of my paintings. I like to put something that's alive in the paintings to give life to the picture. I then went into a bit of a hole where I wasn't painting for a number of years, a number of factors. I was very busy at work. I had a growing family. I was taking up a new hobby of ballroom dance. So I had little time left for painting. The only work of note that I did in that time was one of the old shambles in Manchester in about 2005. Then in about 2009, I started to make time and leave myself the opportunity to develop my skills in acrylics. And this is one that I'm very pleased with, one of the early ones that I really liked in acrylics, and it's Manchester Central Library. It's in January, date was 2010. Problem is often finding inspiration, but this one sort of hit me in the face as I was walking into work in Manchester Town Hall. The reflections in the pavement, the pinks and the blues, lovely, gorgeous colours. So I took a photo on my mobile phone, and that's another big advantage of modern technology. You can use a mobile phone wherever you are. You see a picture, you can capture it. And I've got a number of paintings in later years that have happened just because I spotted the inspiration in front of me and was able to take the photo straight away. Moving on another year, holidayed in the Maldives, and this was my own photo. Again, I'd spotted this lovely scene where we were on the beach and we had a day out in the yacht, and the crew of the yacht were just getting ready to take us back. And I snapped this view, and if you see the boat and the yacht in the distance form a lovely triangle, and that's what makes this photo so appealing to me. The important thing about this in my development as well is that I'm learning how to control colour over a large area, so that I've got the same intensity of colour over a large area, which is not easy to do. And the other development is in the painting of clouds. because clouds need lots of soft edges, and that's not so easy in acrylic because they dry quickly. You've got to really work hard at getting those soft edges. Moving on a couple of years, and I'm starting to look more at urban scenes. I did a number of paintings of Venice, having holidayed in Italy, and I got lots of ideas there. And the intensity of acrylics is brilliant in somewhere like Venice for capturing the reflections in the way that I've been able to do so. Also on this one, I decided to use a very limited palette. There's the vast bulk of the painting was done using just 4 colours: white, aquamarine blue, cerulean blue, and burnt sienna. The only exception to that is in the bottom left-hand corner. I used a bit of red to capture that carpet, and being a different colour from the rest, it makes that carpet stand out. I think it works. I also started doing compilations of pictures where I'd taken a number of photographs and started to bring different elements of various photographs into one painting. So this is the 1940s weekend in Haworth back in 2014. And it was a gorgeous day, and there were lots of colourful characters dressed in all sorts of wonderful outfits. So I photographed them all around the town, and I put them all together in one scene outside one of the main pubs in Haworth. And this is the result. Again, just playing about with the characters, getting them into the right position, adapting the original painting, the original photograph to make it look right in the composition. I started also to develop a fascination with water. This is a painting of a reflection of in a fjord in Norway that we went on a cruise, and I took a photograph of the reflection and thought it would make a nice painting in its own right in a sort of abstract format. So that's my fascination with water, which manifests itself again when I was doing some paintings from another Italian holiday, Lake Garda. Now, I've put this one in because it was an important stage, again, learning how to use the medium. With this one, I started by painting the whole board pale blue. And that way, I knew that the reflection in the water was going to be exactly the same colour as the sky. And that's what gives the true reflection appearance. If you get the same colour in the water as the sky, it helps the appearance of water. I mentioned that I've been learning to dance. This is another compilation, but this is a compilation of one couple in a number of poses doing a single dance. It was a demonstration dance of the Argentine tango. And it's like a photo montage, but only done in paints. Again, acrylics makes this such an easy thing to do. Turning back to urban scenes, this is Oxford Road in Manchester. Again, it's a compilation. I took several photographs and I picked pedestrians in cars from different photographs and put them into position in the photo in a way that I thought helped the overall composition. There was no single photograph that looked like this. I can find them all in different photos, but bringing them together this way, I think helped to create the right busy, bustling, wet, typical Manchester morning impression. You'll see there's lots of architectural detail, and there's also very deep reflections in the pavement. Westhoughton. Now, I attend Sacred Heart Church. I know there's probably a few members of your group also attend Mass there. And you probably remember Father Richard, who was retiring back in 2019, and he's a lovely man. So I thought it'd be nice to do a painting of the church as a parting gift for him. So I did this little painting in acrylics. And when I took it to the Bolton Art Circle to show them before giving it to Father, they all said how nice it was. It's good, you should do more of this. So I thought, yes, I should. So that's when I started looking around thinking, it's the ordinary, the everyday that I should be having a look at for inspiration. So I started close to home. Now, Dearden's farm, let's get back to that again. I can't remember what page it was, but one of the local groups was inviting comments. And as part of the comments, I put that original watercolour of Dearden's farm on the Facebook page. And some members of the Partington family who'd lived at Dearden's farm for many years spotted it, and they got in touch with me, and I sold them the painting. So this gave me an insight into how powerful Facebook could be for getting people to see my works. So, as I said, I started creating a portfolio of local scenes, and starting just around the corner from where I live, just off Shumore Lane. So the slides are now in chronological order of the recent work I've been doing since about 2019. And as we pause on each one, I'll try to draw out some of the artistic nuances and techniques that I've used. So here you see the White Horse, which is a pub at the junction of Bolton Road and the A6. I took the photo. It was just after the rain, and I took a number of photos, as I said, and I was looking for the nice view. And this one was the one that stood out because it got the puddle reflections that created the nice mood. I also decided that I would leave in things that you perhaps might not expect to see, like the double yellow line. And why is that important? Well, it's important because in 50 years' time, there might not be any yellow lines anymore, and this will be nostalgia. You'll be looking back on these paintings and saying, oh, I remember when double yellow lines were everywhere. They might last, but the technology is there now that could stop you parking on a restricted zone. You know, your sat nav knows where you are and can probably tell you where you can and can't park. So the technology exists now. So perhaps in a few years' time, we won't see any more yellow lines. So you also see that the 30-mile-an-hour sign limit, the traffic lights, the railings on the corner, all parts of the street furniture that are as they are in 2019, and with time will grow nostalgic. Walking on down Bolton Road, this is the Rose and Crown. And again, this is one where at the start of the talk, I spoke about leading you into the picture. And I chose this scene because I like the view of the road bending and disappearing down the hill. But with the trees in the foreground, creating a bit of interest and hiding the view just beyond the trees. So it's getting you thinking, what's around that corner? That's what the viewer of the painting might be wondering. The other important thing is that the trees in the foreground give you a sense of depth of field. It's three-dimensional. You'll also see the wet road, which features quite a lot in a number of these paintings. I said I kept up watercolour, and this is a watercolour one I did, again, of a local scene. You'll recognise the water tower and the old farm, which is now a doggy daycare centre just over the road. And again, you see a bend in the road and the crest of the hill. But I've used long shadows here to emphasise the brightness of the grasses. And like I said, if you can get the effects of light and shade in watercolour, it's very, very effective. Back to Bolton Road, again, a curve taking you round from the centre of Westhoughton out towards Amore. Very wet road this time, generated by the strong reflections of the houses. And also, you'll see the headlights of the cars. Recall back to the old Hulton one that had done 20 years before, of the headlights shining brightly on the road. And it works really well to give the impression of the water on the ground. And again, notice the street furniture and the signs. That for sale sign on the house. The estate agent that uses that sign will probably change that sign, and people might remember the old-fashioned signs in years to come. I think I've realised by this stage that I was starting to document Westhoughton as it is in the current era. So that's probably why your group is interested in this record. So I've done quite a lot of the sort of iconic views as well as the ordinary everyday views. So this is one of the iconic views of Westhoughton, the town hall. And I've tried to convey the effect of rainfall with the brush strokes. And again, I've put a tree in the foreground to give the idea of depth of field. And I've put several cars on the move, which tells you that it's a busy little place at times when people are allowed to go shopping again. Another iconic view, again, Park Road, looking towards the town hall. The double yellow lines, but I've captured here a car parked illegally, but I was careful not to represent the number plates accurately because I didn't want the owner getting a ticket for that. Now, the Amore coffee shop has been very kind to me. They've allowed me to put a number of my paintings on exhibition for the last 12 months or so. So, recognising that, I painted a view of the coffee shop in autumn with lots of golden leaves on the trees and on the ground. Again, puddles in front of the railings. And going back to reflections that I've talked about before, an overall wash of the sky colour enables me to make sure that those puddles are reflecting the sky properly and give the right effect. Another iconic view of Westhoughton is the old parish church. And this was one of those moments, I said before, the moment presented itself to me, and I took a number of photos of this gorgeous sunset. It had been raining all day, but the sun was just starting to peep out behind the cloud as I was on my way down to the beer school for the conversation club. And a lot of people quite believe that I go there for the conversation club. I do, as well as for the beer. So there's the church with the sun setting behind it. I've put on the slide the golden mean, and I chose the position of the church tower carefully. The golden mean is a ratio of about 5/8 to 3/8, which is what the classic artist thought was the best position to put your main subject in the picture. So it's about 3/8 of the painting is to the left of the tower and 5/8 to the right of the tower. It gives a nice overall balance rather than it being central, which for some reason is less pleasing to the eye. back to Bolton Road. It's not dissimilar to an earlier view I did of the pub on a wet day. This was a cool, clear day in winter with strong shadows of the morning sun. The trees have lost all the foliage, and I've concentrated on that terrace of old cottages, which is where the purchaser of this painting lived. She wanted a painting with that terrace shown prominently. A couple of things here. You see there's somebody walking on the pavement, and introducing life to the picture. And also that the light shining through those banners to give the effects of the sunlight. Why do you think it's sunny? Well, you can see the sun shining through those banners. Back to the rain. Church Street, where the railway crosses, the bridge crosses the railway. Lots of dark lines and light lines in the paving stones. Let me explain that. If you look on the right-hand side, you've got the paving stones, and if you look where the light is bright on the paving stones, I've denoted the difference between them in a dark line. The outline of the paving stones is dark, but where the reflection is dark, I do a light line for the paving stones. It just gives the impression of wetness. And there's another little trick in there that I'll just point out. If you look at those houses in the distance, just going around the corner, the old slate roofs on the old cottages, and I use the reflection of the chimney going on a slant into the tiles, with the tiles almost white, reflecting the sky. Another watercolour, again attempting to capture the effect of bright sunlight. I've got an S-bend here, going to the left and then to the right, drawing your eye into the painting. And a deep shadow of the terrace of houses on the right falling across the road. There's my walker again, with his shadow going along the pavement and up the wall. Very intense colours on the trees, dark shadows against the bright sky behind. Now, this one has been a very successful painting for me. One of the local Facebook groups showed an old black and white photo that created quite a lot of interest. And somebody on the Facebook group said, "That'd make a nice painting for you, Bill. Why don't you have a go at it?" So I did. Great fun turning the black and white into colour. I had to research what sort of colours would have been on the trams. Not living around here, growing up around here, I didn't know that, but I was able to find it on the internet. And at Christmas 2020, I offered this as an auction to raise funds for Bolton Hospice, and the result was outstanding. I was absolutely blown away with the number of people who were bidding and the amount of money that was bid for it. So only one person could buy it, so I ordered a number of copies from a website, and those sold as well, with people contributing £10 per print on top of the cost of the prints to go to the hospice. So I was really very, very pleased with that one. Another painting of Amore. I've been talking about a lot of features of my paintings, and it's easy to concentrate on the place, which is important on a painting. Where are you? But I think you'll see that in all my paintings, I'm trying to capture what's the time of day. Is it morning? Is it midday? Is it evening? Is it night time? What's the season? Here it's clearly winter because the light is fading fast, but the shop's still open. And the weather, it looks cold here, that cold sky. So hopefully my paintings do capture those three features as well as the place, the scene of the painting. The water tower again, quite an iconic view, but this time I've added a bit of drama in the skies, that there's a storm brewing in that sky. It looks windy. And again, I've put some foliage in the near foreground, which adds depth to the painting. And again, I was asked to do this painting. It wasn't my own photo. The lady who had the painting had taken a photo of the water tower with the rainbow and asked, could I have a go? So I said I'd have a go, but my goodness, was that difficult. It's easy to paint red, orange, yellow stripes, but if you look at a rainbow, they're not stripes. They blend, they transition slowly from one colour into the next. So getting those transitions without having any stripe lines was oh so difficult, but great fun trying to do it. Dearden's farm is now Milk Maids. This photo, again, my own photo, was taken in summer. And here we've got what I call a corona sky. There's no vapor trails, no clouds. If you remember last year, the skies were so blue, bluer than we'd seen for many, many years, but with all the pollution out of the skies were gorgeous. And I tried to capture that here in this painting. That the brightness of the light is achieved by having very, very deep shadows. The deeper the shadows, the brighter the light seems to be. Back to watercolour. I'm a bit of a magpie, as well as my own photos. If I see a nice one that somebody else has taken, I'll cheekily ask permission to use it. And this was on the My Westhoughton website. Somebody had taken photos of a walk they'd been on. So I got in touch with the person who'd taken the photo and said, do you mind if I do a painting? And he said, oh, by all means. So this was the result. So again, having to work from the light to the dark, leaving the bright sunshine coming through as the light features in behind the trees. And also, if you look at that path that goes into the park, those of you who know the park knows that it descends steeply into the valley, and the path has got what I've called a horizon there, which tells the viewer that it falls down behind that, because the colours behind it go a lot paler than the colours in front of it. This was another commission for the new tenants of a farmhouse in Aspull. They'd asked me to do a painting of the house as it was when they just bought it. So I took a few photos and they chose the one that they wanted me to capture in paint. Features of this, the foliage, the shadows again, and the brickwork. A lot of old brickwork in there, which took a lot of patience. A few shortcuts. I've not captured every single brick, but by doing a lot of them, the eye kids you into thinking that they're all there. Another request. This is the Westhoughton Cricket Club. There's a little memorial garden has been set up for the wife of the ex-president of the club, who is seen here standing in the garden. So the lady it was his daughter who asked me to do the painting, and she provided me with a number of photos, but she said, you use a bit of artistic license, so the flowers are a lot brighter, a lot more dense, and there's blossom on the trees. So I put in a lot more colour than there was originally. But nobody knows, you know, it looks like it could be if everything came out in bloom at the same time. Another commission. This is down near Lostock Station. There's the old chapel and some fields opposite. So the painting is called Nellie and the Buttercups. Nellie is the dog, who apparently loves to play in the Buttercups. She gave me a photo of the dog and asked me to work it into the painting, which is what I did here. Westhoughton High School. This was a present for the retiring head teacher of the school that was commissioned by the governors. Another summer view with the bright skies that we had last summer, long shadows, and the foliage of the tree, which is quite a spectacular tree if you see it in full bloom. Another summer one, the cricket club again. The president of the club, he liked that painting of the memorial garden so much that he asked me to do one of the matches in place. So I went down to the ground, took a number of photographs, caught a few moments of the match in play. The position of the wicket was actually a lot further to the right, but if I'd got the cricketers playing, I would have only had trees in the background. So I moved the position of the match to being in front of the pavilion so that we had another composite view. Everyone in Westhoughton knows Charlie's Chippy, and this was another opportune moment that I spotted while waiting for somebody. It was raining, and there was a lovely puddle forming a reflection in front of the Chippy. So I took the photo, and this was the result. Going back to the ordinary again, Mill Lane is in Daisy Hill. It's a bit of a quiet backwater. I've included the modern cars that are parked outside. It would have been tempting to leave them off, but as I've said, in 10 years' time, people look back on those and say, look at the cars we were driving back then. I've done quite a lot of cars in my paintings, and I think that's probably what caught the eye of the owner of Westhoughton Motors, who asked me to paint a view of his showroom on the A6. Oh, this was hard. This was so hard. Look at all the cars in this. Getting the proportions right was so very difficult, but I think it works. I do know that I've walked past his showroom and he's got it up on the wall, so he must like it. Another backwater, Turner Street, which is not far from the Mill Street that you saw a short while ago. A lady in one of the houses asked me to paint the terrace. I spotted that it was September. The cloud formations and the sun was fantastic. So I got myself down there and got some photographs. Included all the detail, the modern cars and the strong shadows. If you look in the foreground, there's shadows there which tell you that there's a hedge behind you as you're looking at it. And it just adds interest to the foreground. Another commission, the house on Mill Street that I did was owned by the people who run this business. So they asked me to do a painting of the business, which I did for them. It's on Church Street. Now, I really like this one. It's Park Road again. You've got the town hall in the far distance. And you've got the beautiful red brick of the buildings there. We do have some fantastic scenes around the town. You know, there's beauty all around if you just know how to look at it. Again, the photo I took didn't have the autumn leaves. The tree was quite bare by the time I'd taken the photo. But the lady in the house to the right did have a photo with the autumn leaves, so she lent me that. So I put the autumn leaves in, and it just added a little bit more to the painting. This is back to Market Street, and it's the shoe shop opposite the town hall. This was a Christmas present for the owner of the shoe shop, who apparently is going to take retirement soon. So this was commissioned by, I think it was his daughter or his niece, who wanted something to remember the shop by. Another commission, Beehive Mill, on, is it Clarence Road, I think it is, near the centre of Bolton. This is, unlike most of my paintings, which are modern scenes, this is a retro scene. And I sort of trawled the internet for photos of old mills, and I found a black and white photo of the Beehive Mill that looked so good. And I chose the Beehive Mill because the lady who wanted it used to work there many years ago. So this was a particular interest to her. There was no bus on the original photograph, but I thought it would look nice with one of the old-fashioned buses on. So again, I got a few photos of buses and put it into the picture. Another tram stuck in the snow. This was, if you remember the first one that I did, the tram stuck in the snow. When they were bidding for it at auction, there was two people in particular really wanted the painting, and one of them got in touch with me and said, it's not quite the same scene, but there was another scene that had the pile of snow and a group of children playing, and one of them was my father. So again, I did a trawl of the internet and I found a photograph, and she confirmed that this was the painting. So I did this painting for her, and she contributed the sum to the hospice, the same charity as the original Tram in the Snow. So that was nice. So she's got this memento of her dad. I don't know which, I think it's the one second from the left. She points out was her dad with those children back in 1940. It must have been a very, very cold winter that year. Sometimes I do paintings a second time. People like the first one and say, can you do me another one? And I always say, I can't do exactly the same. I can do something similar. So this is the same angle, but I've put clouds on, I've put people, and slightly different arrangement of the cars on the painting. But it's essentially the same picture. A modern house. A lot of the paintings I've done have been of the old traditional cottages and homes around the town, but there's lots of modern homes around the town. And if you get the scene right, you can have a nice painting with these. What really makes this is the children playing in the snow, playing snowballs. And again, another modern house. The painting I did of Bethel Church on Park Road, the dentist's are there, and one of the dentists fancied the painting. So this was of the dentist's house up in Lostock. Now, the photo I'd taken was in February, but she said, can you do it as it would be in summer? So I had to imagine what the foliage would be like and where the shadows would be. But I think it works. Wingates in rush hour. A lot of the familiar features of my work are captured in this one. Little themes that you can spot: cars on the move, the headlights, the wet reflections, the street furniture, the yellow lines, people walking. It just says busy, busy, busy in this picture. Nearly at the end of the journey of the paintings in chronological order. Lot Lane in Tumor, lovely day in spring. And this was for one of the people who lived in those cottages, grew up in one of the cottages. So I've not got a photo of what it was like then, but he was quite happy with the painting of how it is now. In the sunshine, with the shadows of the trees falling across the cobbles, the daffodils in full bloom. Right, so the last thing I want to take you through tonight, it was mentioned to me that people would like to see how I develop and work through a painting. So I did one for this talk, and it's been revealed tonight. So I want to take you through the various stages of the painting. So there's the first start, and it's got a pink half at the top and a grey half at the bottom. Pink at the top because it's going to be a sunset, that's the dominant colour. Grey at the bottom because the road is in shadow. So I have to do a number of iterations of capturing where the clouds are, where the shadows are, and getting the right depth of colour. You have to go over it many, many times to get the right feel. And sometimes it doesn't quite dry right, so you have to have another go, add a bit more detail. And at this stage, I'm happy that I've got the main bulk of the sky right, so I've drawn in, and you'll notice that that's the water tower again, the top of Bolton Road, but this time I'm looking down the hill towards Westhoughton, where the sun is setting. And that's the photo that I'm working to, and you can see how the two compare at this stage in the development. So now I start to put in more detail. Of the garden wall, the trees, getting some sense of direction on the road, just with the lines, the direction of paint. And the sun quite bright, shining through the clouds on the horizon. More depth of colour, more detail on the bricks, more detail on the trees. Again, continue to work in the depth of colour on the trees, in particular on this one. A little more detail on the road. A little bit too brown at the moment, we'll have to change that. Nearly finished. A bit more grey, and that's the final result. That's revealed to you lot tonight as my most recent painting and how I got there. Thank you for listening. I've put up there some ways you can contact me. On Facebook, I have a page which is called Buenos Manos Art. And I've also got two links there to a website where people can buy either prints of my paintings, or you can buy greetings cards, Moonpig style, where you can choose the card and personalise it for your own use. And there's quite a lot of the cards are the Westhoughton scenes that I've shown you tonight. So there ends my talk.
It was lovely, really interesting.
Thank you.
It was really, really good.
Just to say, it's not a question, it's just saying I really, really enjoyed that. And I think the artwork is absolutely amazing.
Yes, it is.
It just makes me want to commission something, I've got to say. It was absolutely amazing, that. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Bill, how long does it take you to do some of these paintings?
It varies, depends on the amount of detail and the size of the board that I'm using. But if you say between 10 and 20 hours, all told, that's probably the sort of time I spend on them.
Yeah, because some of the detail, as you say, is quite incredible, and the shading. So to me, that sounds quite fast. You're obviously very, very talented.
Sometimes it might take a bit longer. But, you develop shortcuts. The more you do something, you're not having to think about it as much. You know how you're going to get a certain colour mix. And I use the same sort of colour palette for Westhoughton scenes time and again, because the same colours reappear. So I know how to get a particular shade of grey, or the shade of the bricks, or the reflections in the road, and I use the same solution, so I get there a lot quicker. It's more difficult when that last one that I did, the sunset. I've not done a lot of sunsets, so getting the shade of peachy orange that was in the sky took a few washes to get the colour to a stage I was satisfied with it.
Just looks perfect to me.
Yeah, very talented. Thank you very much.
Bill, can I just say, I am the proud owner of 2 of your paintings. They delight me every day.
Oh, thank you.
And as a direct result of those paintings, I got my sons to buy me an acrylic set. So I felt inspired. But the more I was doing it, the more I realised just how talented you are. The detail in your paintings, it's something else. And I love those paintings so much. Thank you.
I've been doing it for years and years, Joe.
Oh yeah. Well, I've done it for about a month, and then thought, maybe Bill's got something on me on this. Oh, and can I just say as well, I'm Generation X. I am not a baby boomer.
I love Generation X. They're the best generation.
Yeah, just say. But thank you.
It strikes me that Bill's given you a lot of hints and tips there. He's given us a lot of detail on the techniques and the little issues of composition and colour and things that he uses. And I think that's been fascinating, because if you're not a hands-on artist who does these things, it's probably quite difficult to work out how you would do them. So thank you, Bill, for that. I'm sure we've got a few apprentices here.
Yeah. Well, I hope you'll look at paintings in future and take those things into account in sort of reading a picture. I think you might read them a bit better in future.
And yes, and I also think when you're just walking down the road, we might notice things more as a result of what you've told us.
Yeah. Beauty is all around.
Yes.
It really is.
Can I just ask, Bill, do you ever take your palette and paints and paint outside at the actual scene?
I've done it on holiday. I've not done it round here. It rains too much. So, Bill, I would like to join the society if that's possible.
No problem with that. We don't charge a lot, so you pay when we meet at the library or the Carnegie. We charge for coffee and biscuits and things. Reimburse our cost. But
all the biscuits.
We've got a lady who limits you to 1 custard cream, but apart from that, you can do what you like.
Looking forward to them times coming back.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Our first meeting with the whole group. 16th of September, Thursday.
There you are, Garth, you've just committed us.
Put it in your diaries. Yeah.
So, get that in your diaries. Yeah.
Put it in your diaries and cross your fingers.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. The subject of the talk is what Westhoughton places of historic interest. That should be an interesting presentation because you'll all know most of the places we're going to be talking about.
Well, if there are no more questions, perhaps Garth is our vice chairman, and perhaps you'd like to give a quick vote of thanks to Bill, please, for what we've been.
Indeed, well, thanks very much, Bill. That was really, really enjoyable. It reminded me of quite a number of the Westhoughton scenes of my youth. Thank you very much indeed. Can we have some sound of appreciation for Bill if we can all? Thank you very much.
Thank you.